So dear students, today we will talk about amplitude demodulation, and once we are over with amplitude demodulation, then we will move to our next concept, that is your frequency modulation. Okay, so that way today's class is very important, where you will finish off with one topic and we will move to a new topic. Fine. So in the concluding remarks of the yesterday's class, we had talked about amplitude demodulation. We also call demodulation as detection. And I told you that demodulation means getting back the information signal. Okay, and where do we get our information signal back from? We have modulated signal. When this modulated signal reaches to the receiver side, then we use a demodulator. Fine. And by using demodulator or detector, we get the demodulated signal. This demodulated signal is nothing but our original information signal. And as I told you, since we are talking about amplitude modulation, and the biggest advantage of amplitude modulation is its simplicity. So that simplicity is also reflected during the receiver part also. Fine. So your amplitude modulated signal can be directly demodulated with the help of a circuit. We call that circuit as envelope detector. Another name for that circuit is diode detector. So one and the same thing, but this envelope detector is a more popular term. And I told you in yesterday's class also that we call it envelope detector because our modulating signal is present as envelope of the carrier. Okay, so obviously we want to retrieve back our information signal. So that's why we extract our information signal from the envelope of our carrier. Okay, so I hope with this background now we can proceed forward with our discussion on amplitude demodulation. Next. So here is our circuit for envelope detector students. So as I told you yesterday also that in our amplitude modulated signal, we have two things. One is the carrier part and another is the information signal part. C plus I. I means information signal. Okay. So this is our information signal part. Okay. And this is our modulated signal. Which includes both the carrier part and the information signal. So your carrier signal, it is your high frequency signal, whereas your information signal is your low frequency signal. Fine. So you can say that your modulated signal is a combination of high frequency and low frequency signal. So obviously we want to extract low frequency signal and we want to remove high frequency signal. So what do we want? We want a low pass filter. Okay, so that low pass filter has been realized with the help of RC circuit. Okay, so if you carefully look at the circuit, I'll first make you understand circuit in parts so that you can identify an individual part, and then we will discuss the circuit in its complete detail. Okay, so this RC part, this behaves like a low pass filter. Fine. That is one thing, because we want low pass filter just to pass our information signal and remove the carrier part. Another thing that we want is you look at this thing carefully. So this is our amplitude modulated signal, and where is our information signal? As I told you, your information signal lies. Fine. Your replica of information signal is also present in the negative side. So both are one and the same thing. So we can extract our information signal from the positive side as well as from the negative side, any of the two. So obviously we know that diode behaves like a rectifier. So with the help of diode, we can go in the positive direction, or we can extract the positive side information signal or the negative side information signal. Fine. So here we consider the positive side information signal. That's why diode has been used. So the purpose of this diode is to provide rectified output, and it has been connected in such a way that it provides us rectified output from the positive side. Fine. So these are the main two things that are present in this diode detector circuit. So another important thing related to this circuit is the peak detector part. Okay. See, you must have studied the peak detector circuit. When I say that my information signal is present in the envelope, this envelope. And what is this envelope? This envelope is nothing but the peaks of individual, you can say, these sine waves. Okay, so we have to detect these peaks. So if we detect these peaks, then my information signal is extracted, and rest of the things I can leave apart. Okay, so another important thing in this diode detector circuit or envelope detector circuit is the peak detector part. Okay, fine. I hope all of you have been able to understand this. So now let us concentrate on the circuit. How does it function? Okay. So see. So from here, this is the primary of your transformer from where your amplitude modulated signal enters. Okay, so here one term is written, that is IF. The meaning of IF is intermediate frequency. Okay, you need not worry about IF right now. Okay, this thing will be discussed in detail later on. Right now, my focus is to cover most basic things in your amplitude modulation and demodulation. Okay, so for the time being, you don't worry about IF. You assume that your amplitude modulated signal enters from the primary part of this transformer. Okay, then this is the secondary of our transformer. Okay, it also has a capacitor, or it also acts like a tuning circuit. Fine. So my amplitude modulated signal, it enters through this secondary. Okay, now one purpose of this secondary is because this is also tuned circuit, and I told you that we will allow only a select range of frequencies to enter through the circuit. So whatever spurious signal outside the desired frequency range are there, those will be rejected by this second. Okay, so after that, you can say that your amplitude modulated signal in the desired range, it has entered from this side. Okay, from here it has entered. Fine. And our amplitude modulated signal is this one. See, I want you to notice one thing. In yesterday's class also, I showed you my AM signal like this. And in this AM signal, I represent my modulating signal with this blue line. So students, this blue line is just for the representation purpose. Okay, in actual signal, this blue line is not that visible. Okay, actually, my AM signal looks like this, where there is no, separate colored line over the top of this. Okay, so just by observing the signal, we will have to make out that, okay, something, different has been put on our AM signal. Fine. So just by looking at the peak, we can make out that my AM signal is present over. Okay, so this signal will come here. Okay, and as I told you that this diode acts as a rectifier. So that's why now you look at this particular figure here. The line has been shown only on the positive side of your envelope. Okay, that means your diode will allow only this portion of the input waveform to move to this RC filter, because diode behaves like a rectifier. So this portion will be cut off. This portion will be cut off. Negative. Okay, so now let us focus on the positive portion only. Fine. So if we do that, so look at the positive portion here. here, this is positive side, we have RC. We know that the capacitor charges first to the input signal. Okay, so here what happens when this positive part of the signal enters into the capacitor, your capacitor charges up to the peak. Okay, up to this point. Fine. Then what happens? Your signal goes down. Okay, so when the signal goes down, obviously the capacitor will tend to discharge through the resistance. Okay, your signal through the capacitor will increase first like this. Just a minute, let me draw it more carefully. So here my signal will charge up to this point. Okay, then since my signal is decreasing and moving towards negative side, so obviously my capacitor will try to discharge. Okay, and then as soon as your signal again increases, my capacitor will again charge. Okay, so my capacitor will charge up to this point, then it will again have a tendency to discharge for the time when my signal is going down. Then next peak comes and my signal again recharges, my capacitor again recharges to the new peak value. Then my capacitor again try to discharge and then again peak is detected. So this way, as soon as peak is encountered, my capacitor charges to that value, and during the gap when the signal value is less than the value across the capacitor, my capacitor tends to discharge. Okay, so this is how my RC circuit detects the peak of the signal. Peak of the signal. Okay, so if you carefully observe this black waveform figure, so here you see this envelope. Okay, so here what is happening? See, this is discharging. So wherever you have a dip or ripple means some, you know, a slack in the signal. These are called ripples, these variations. So wherever your capacitor tends to discharge, you have a ripple. Okay, fine. So ideally your demodulated signal should have been like this, but you get a demodulated signal with ripples like this. This one. Okay, you have your demodulated signal with ripples. Okay, so these are known as ripples, the way we have ripples in the sea. Okay, I hope all of you have understood this. So you can say that though we have been able to get our sinusoidal signal back, but this signal has two things in it. One is the ripple, and this ripple has come into picture because of charging and discharging of the capacitor. And there is one more thing, and that thing is the DC component. What is the meaning of DC? DC is a constant signal. Okay, fine. So our original modulating signal had no DC component. See, this sine wave is starting from the zero part, whereas the signal that we have demodulated, that signal is starting from somewhat, you can say, above your zero line. So means this is our baseline. So this baseline of the demodulated signal gives us the DC component present in our demodulated signal. Okay, so the signal that we get from the out of your diode detector, it has two things, ripples and DC component, and these are the unwanted signals. We need to remove them. Okay, so but these two things we will not be able to remove in this simple diode detector circuit. We'll have to modify the circuit a bit, and we will also see that circuit. Okay, presently you can keep this thing in mind that whatever signal we get, that has ripples and DC component. Okay, so if I draw the baseline, as I told you, your baseline looks like this, something like this. Okay, which shows the DC value present. So that is the working of your envelope detector or diode detector circuit. I hope all of you have been able to understand this. One last point in diode detector, which I need to explain, is the time constant of RC circuit. We already know that whenever we have resistance and capacitance either in series or in parallel, your RC circuit has a time constant, and the time constant decides how much time your capacitor or RC circuit will take to charge or discharge. Okay, if your time constant is small, your capacitor will charge at a faster rate. If your time constant is large, then your capacitor will charge at a slow pace. Okay, so we will have to decide the optimum value of the time constant. We cannot keep the value of time constants too small or too large, because if we keep it too small, then your capacitor will instantly charge and it will not be able to keep pace with the peaks. So if your time constant is too small, then peaks will not be able to easily identify. Okay, and if your time constant is too large, then also your capacitor will not be able to reach to the peak values. Okay, so that way we need to decide the optimum value of time constant so that my capacitor can detect the peaks correctly. Fine. So that was the complete discussion related to the envelope detector circuit or my diode detector circuit. Fine. So students, after discussing this envelope detector circuit part, in fact diode detector circuit part, now we move to another circuit of diode detector, and we call this circuit as practical diode detector. Okay, and if you remember, just in the previous slide, I told you that in the normal diode detector circuit, we have the problem of ripples and the problem of the DC component. Okay, and we know what is the meaning of ripple. Ripple means some variation in the signal. Some variation in the signal means some high frequency component present. So obviously, by using a filter, further filter, we can remove ripples. Okay, and DC component, we know your capacitor, it blocks DC. So by using capacitor appropriately, we can remove DC component. So in practical diode detector, first thing that we do is we make provisions for the removal of ripples and the DC component. Fine. So for that, some changes have been recommended in this practical diode detector circuit. So one change that has been proposed here is the diode that we were using that has been reversed. Okay, so this is the circuit of your practical diode detector, and this circuit I have reproduced here just for your reference so that you can correlate your normal diode detector with the practical diode. Okay, so here your diode has been connected in such a way that it will detect the negative envelope. It will detect this one. It will not detect the positive envelope part. Okay, and it doesn't matter as far as the detection of AM signal is there. Okay, and the purpose of detecting the negative envelope is this one, AGC. The meaning of AGC is automatic gain control. Okay, and this R3C3, this portion of the circuit, it provides us AGC. So in the practical diode detector circuit, one additional provision that has been shown here is AGC. And as I told you that the way the concept of IF will be explained to you later, similarly concept of AGC will also be clarified later on. But just for the introduction purpose, let me tell you that what is the purpose of AGC. The purpose of AGC is, see, whenever we get back demodulated signal at the output, then what may happen that depending on the strength of the signal at the input to the receiver, your output signal strength varies. Okay, so sometimes your output signal will be very loud, sometimes your output signal will be very low. But what we want that the level of the output signal, it should be, the average level should be constant. Let me give you an example. When you change channels in your TV, what happens if you move from one channel to another channel? Like in some of the channels, the volume is quite high. In some of the channels, the volume level is quite low. That is due to, different gains. So if you can ensure automatic gain control, in that case, your change in volumes, it will be controlled. That is the purpose of AGC. And R3C3 provides us AGC signal. Okay, so apart from this, you need not worry about this R3C3 in this circuit. Now we will concentrate on the remaining portion of the circuit. Okay, now as we discussed, we want to remove two things. One is the DC component and another is the ripples. First, let us take into consideration the DC component. Okay, so here, see, there is a capacitor, that is C2. This C2 capacitor has been put in series with the output. Okay, AF means your audio frequency output, means your demodulated signal is coming out here across this R4, and this C2 is in series with R4. Okay, and we know that your capacitor, it blocks DC. So whatever DC comes here from here, okay, this DC will be blocked by this C2. This is also called coupling capacitor. Okay, so that way there will be no DC component present in the audio frequency output signal. So this C2 coupling capacitor, it prevents DC to come out. Okay, it will be blocked. Then second part is with regard to your ripples. Okay, so regarding ripples, you see here also we have RC. Here also we have RC. This R1 C1 was present in our normal circuit also. Okay, see, we have this R1 C and C. So this R1 C1, this provides a low pass filter. Okay, so whatever ripples enter into our input circuit, those ripples will be grounded through this R1C. Okay, and some of the spurious component also pass through this C also, and all those ripples will be grounded. So this way your ripples will be moved to ground through R1 C1. Fine. I hope this thing is clear to each and everyone. Okay, and now one point that I have mentioned here, that your R equal to R1 plus R2, it provides series DC path to the ground. See, let me explain it further. What I want to explain here, we all know how does a capacitor work. Okay, so what does a capacitor do? Whenever a sinusoidal, or you can say high frequency signal comes at the input of the capacitor, it is passed. Okay, and if some DC signal comes, it is blocked. So it blocks DC and it passes AC signal. Okay, so since now, if I assume that this is the kind of signal that I have, clamped modulating signal. Okay, so where we have some DC component in it and some AC component, we have to remove this one. Okay, so what is happening here? See, if I assume that for this DC component, capacitor behaves like what? Open circuit. We have already studied this thing in detail in our network analysis subject. So DC makes a capacitor open circuit. So if DC part enters into this secondary, then what will happen? This capacitor will be open circuited. this capacitor will be open circuited. Okay, so when these are open circuited, you can assume that these are no longer in the circuit. Okay, so what does it mean? That whatever signal comes, now this diode obviously, when diode is forward biased, it behaves like a short. Okay, fine. So there is a kind of short present across this R1 and R2, and this is nothing but grounded. So we can say here that your practical diode detector circuit, it provides a series DC path. We get a series DC path to ground. Means whatever DC component was present at the input of the secondary, that has been grounded through R1, R2. That is the meaning. Okay. So if you want to correlate this R1, R2 with your original diode detector circuit, you can see that there was one R here. This R has now been, divided into two resistances, R1 and R2. Okay, just to provide a series DC path to ground for diode. Okay, so this is how we can, detect our AM signal using a practical diode detector, where we have removed ripples because of R1C1 filter, where we have removed the DC component by using a coupling capacitor. We have also provided a series DC path to ground through R1 and R2. Okay, we have reversed the diode to provide, negative automatic gain control. Fine. So by keeping these provisions of AGC and removal of ripple and DC component, your practical diode detector works. I hope all of you have been able to completely understand the concept of AM demodulation. Okay. So students, after this AM demodulation using diode detector, we move to our next topic. And next topic is coherent detection, or you can say synchronous demodulation. And this is very, very important concept, and very simple also. Let me clarify. See, normally your detection means demodulation. Okay, you already know it. Your detection or demodulation is of two types. One type is, we call it as coherent detection, and another type is non-coherent detection. Non-coherent. Okay, so one is coherent detection, another is your non-coherent detection. Fine. Another name for coherent detection is synchronous detection or synchronous demodulation. Whereas for non-coherent, you can call this non-coherent as non-synchronous or asynchronous detection or demodulation. Fine. Now, particularly with respect to amplitude modulation, this non-coherent detection is nothing but your envelope detection. Whatever we have studied in the previous slide, okay, that was nothing but your envelope detection or the non-coherent detection. Okay, I hope you have understood. So what we have studied till now in AM demodulation, we have studied non-coherent detection, and we are going to discuss in this slide the concept of coherent detection. Okay, so now we talk about the meaning of coherent. Coherent means in consonance with something, in relation with something, in synchronization with something. Okay, coherent means where there is some bonding, where there is some matching. Okay, so let me tell you, as I told you that there are two types of detections, coherent and non-coherent. The performance of coherent detection is better than non-coherent. Okay, as I have shown in the slide also, your coherent detection provides better performance, that is 3 dB performance. But your coherent detection is difficult also as compared to non-coherent. So your non-coherent detection or envelope detection is simple, it is cheap, but it provides a little bit less performance, whereas coherent detection provides better performance, but it is a bit complex. Okay. So again, we are in a dilemma which one to go for. So depending on whatever we want, we have to go for either coherent detection or non-coherent detection. Fine. So I think I have made my point very clear here. So as I told you, your envelope detection is nothing but the non-coherent detection. Fine. Now we will discuss coherent detection. So students, in coherent detection, what happens? We require carrier signal to demodulate. If you look at previous slide carefully, in the envelope detector, here in this envelope detector, did we use carrier anywhere in the circuit? We didn't use carrier exclusively in the circuit. There is no carrier part exclusively input into the circuit. Okay, whatever modulated signal we got, we passed through this circuit, and at the output we recovered the demodulated signal. That's it, what we have done. Okay, whereas in coherent detection, what we do, we have AM signal. This is nothing but your AM signal. Okay, your AM signal is multiplied or mixed with the carrier part, with the carrier signal. Fine, this is the major difference. Okay, and this carrier signal, this is not the actual carrier which has been transmitted. This carrier has been regenerated at the receiver side, and when we regenerate this carrier at the receiver side, we call that carrier as locally generated carrier, locally generated at the receiver side. Okay, so if you look at the block diagram on the left hand side of your slide, we have AM input, which is multiplied or mixed with a local oscillator signal, which provides locally generated carrier signal. We multiply them together, and then we pass it through a low pass filter, and at the output we get my demodulated signal back. Okay, this is the concept of coherent detection, where the AM signal is multiplied with locally generated carrier. Okay, and this locally generated carrier has to be synchronous, has to be bonded, has to be matched with the carrier which has been used at the transmitter side. Okay, as I have mentioned in point number 3, it has been assumed that LO means local oscillator signal or locally generated signal is exactly coherent or synchronized. And how it is synchronized? Synchronized in terms of frequency, synchronized in terms of phase with the carrier used in the modulator. So this LO signal, local oscillator signal, must be synchronized with the carrier which has been used in this AM part. They must be in consonance with each other. Okay, only then we will be able to get the correct demodulated signal. Okay, so for the time being, you can keep this thing in mind that in coherent detection we use a local oscillator carrier signal, okay, which is mixed with your AM signal, and we get the demodulated signal. Whereas in non-coherent detection, whose another name is through envelope detection, there is no requirement of this local oscillator. Okay, so I will prove this thing mathematically also in the same slide, that how do we get back my message signal back. So if you remember, students, this coherent detection or synchronous demodulation will be taking place in terms of double sideband suppressed carriers. Okay, and you very well fully know that we generated double sideband suppressed carrier signal through product modulator. Product modulator means where we multiplied the carrier signal and the modulating signal in the product modulator. Okay, and what do we get? we get the double sideband suppressed carrier signal. Fine. So if you mathematically see, you see here, this MT is nothing but your modulating signal. Fine. This cos 2 pi f naught t plus theta naught is nothing but your carrier signal. So this modulating signal and carrier signal, these are multiplied together, which gives us double sideband suppressed. Okay, this is our AM signal. So when we receive this AM signal through product modulation from the transmitter side, at the receiver side, we generate a local oscillator signal cos 2 pi f naught t plus theta naught, and we multiply. Mixer means we mix the two signals through multiplication. And you observe the frequency of the carrier at the transmitter, both the frequencies are exactly same. The phase of the carrier at the transmitter and the locally generated carrier at the receiver, that is also same. So that is the meaning of synchronization. So if you multiply these two signals mathematically, what will happen? Cos and cos multiplied cos will give us cos square. You see here that it becomes A1 MT cos square 2 pi f naught t plus theta. And we very wellfully know a trigonometric identity for cos square. So your cos square theta can be expressed as 1 plus cos 2 theta by 2. Okay, so we apply this identity, and if we do that, this by 2 portion has come here. Okay, 1 plus cos 2 theta. So we have got here, this is 1 plus, okay, cos 2 theta. So this is cos, so 2 times omega is there and 2 theta. So by applying this trigonometric identity, we get A1 MT by 2 plus A1 MT by 2 cos of 4 pi f naught t plus 2 theta. Okay, and here you now see what is happening. This is cosine of what? Cosine of 2 omega naught. Cosine of 2 omega naught, which is nothing but a high frequency. So this portion of the signal, is a high frequency signal. This portion, this is a high frequency. And what is this? This is a low frequency signal which has modulating signal MT also as a part. So if you pass this through a low pass filter, this will be removed, and this A1 MT by 2 will come out of the low pass filter. And here we have nothing but MT, which is our modulating signal. And your amplitude of this signal can be scaled, and finally what do we get? The demodulated signal, which is same as that of the message signal. Okay, so this is how we prove mathematically that with the help of coherent detection, fine, your double sideband suppressed carrier signal, when multiplied with a locally generated carrier, which is coherent or synchronized with the carrier used in modulator, gives us the original message signal. This is our coherent detection, which provides better performance as compared to your envelope detection or your diode detection. But coherent detection is more complex as compared to your non-coherent envelope detection. Complexity may not be visible to you in the mathematics, complexity may not be visible to you in the block diagram, but the real complexity lies in this part when we say that the local oscillator signal must be synchronized with the transmitter signal. So this synchronization part is very, very tough, because of which this coherent detection is costly and complex also. Fine. I hope all of you have understood this. So after this coherent detection or synchronous demodulation, we move to our next topic. So our next topic is frequency modulation. Okay, and before we move to frequency modulation, we need to discuss certain advantages and disadvantages of AM, and that will justify our path to frequency modulation. Though whatever advantages I have pointed out in this slide, they have already been discussed. Still, for the sake of completeness of AM topic, I will deliberate on these topics. So I told you the biggest advantage of AM signal is it is the most simple modulation technique, and because of its simplicity, it is cheap also. Okay, the bandwidth requirement of AM signal is very less. We have already seen that in case of your double sideband full carrier, the bandwidth which is required is just 2 times your modulating signal. So very less bandwidth is required for your transmission of AM signal. Apart from that, your AM signal traditionally they are transmitted through your ground wave propagation. So that's why your AM signal can transmit longer distances. Okay, the biggest disadvantage of AM is your noise. Your amplitude modulation is very susceptible to noise. It is very easily affected by the noise. Okay, and if noise enters, it is difficult to remove that noise also. So it is the noise which prompted engineers to go to frequency modulation. So that is the biggest hurdle in AM. Okay, so that's why the next modulation technique after amplitude modulation is frequency modulation. And the biggest advantage of frequency modulation is that it is less susceptible to noise. Means the effect of a noise is very less in case of frequency modulation. Now the question arises, why is it that AM is more affected by the noise and FM is less affected by the noise? The main reason behind that is that normally in case of AM, what happens, our information is present in the amplitude of the carrier. Our information is present here, and whenever noise comes or noise enters into the signal, the noise also affects the amplitude. Okay, you can say that because of noise, your amplitude of the carrier becomes like this. Okay, so wherever our information was present, at the same place noise has entered. So because of that, we say that noise is more prominent in case of AM signal. Whereas in case of FM, our information is not present in the amplitude. Our information is present in the frequency. So even if some noise comes in the amplitude, it does not affect our modulating signal, because in the amplitude part, we do not have our information. Okay, so that way your frequency modulation provides better quality signal as compared to your amplitude modulation. Fine. So next is our new modulation technique, that is your frequency modulation. As we discussed in AM, in case of frequency modulation, the frequency of the carrier signal. Okay, I told you there are 3 parameters which are defined for a given carrier signal. One is amplitude. This is your amplitude. Another is your frequency of the carrier signal, and another third thing is the phase. Okay, so in amplitude modulation, your amplitude changes, frequency and phase remains same. In case of frequency modulation, your frequency of the carrier changes, whereas amplitude and phase remains the same. Okay, so this is how we define frequency modulation, where the frequency of the carrier signal is varied. Only the frequency, not the amplitude. So frequency of the carrier signal is varied in accordance with the instantaneous value of the modulating signal. Okay, I hope all of you have been able to understand this. So if you carefully look at the diagram on the left hand side, where message signal is our low frequency signal, carrier signal is our high frequency signal. So now what will happen? The frequency of the carrier signal will be changed in accordance with the instantaneous value of the message signal. Okay, now what is happening in the message signal? The amplitude of the message signal is first increasing and then decreasing. Okay, so on the basis of this trend, the frequency of the carrier signal will change. How? The frequency of the carrier signal will first increase because the amplitude of the message signal is increasing, and then the frequency of the carrier carrier signal will decrease because the amplitude of the message signal is decreasing. Okay, so this is what is happening here. You can carefully see here in these two portions. Okay, so during this portion of the message signal, your amplitude was first increasing. Okay, your amplitude is increasing, that's why your frequency is first increasing. Then your amplitude is starting to decrease, then that's why your frequency starts to decrease. Okay, and then in this portion where your amplitude is negative, your frequency has decreased. Then your amplitude of the message signal is again increased, so your frequency has again increased, then frequency has again decreased. Okay, so this is how if you carefully look at this portion here, your frequency is first increasing, then your frequency is decreasing, frequency is increasing, frequency is decreasing. The way your amplitude of the message signal is increasing or decreasing. Okay, and you see here the amplitude of the carrier. Amplitude of the carrier is constant, only the frequency is changing. That's the concept of your frequency modulation. Fine, that is one point. Another point is, again and again I am saying that frequency of the carrier is changing. Okay, say the original frequency of the carrier is FC. So this frequency of the carrier is either increasing or decreasing. Okay, and we know that the amount by which my carrier frequency deviates, that is called as frequency deviation. Okay, so if you now look at the figure on the right hand side, I have drawn a graph where I have shown the change in the carrier frequency with time. So what is happening? See, the carrier frequency now on y-axis, my frequency is there, not the amplitude. So here what is happening, as the time is increasing, my carrier frequency is first increasing, then my carrier frequency is coming down. This axis is what? Carrier frequency, original carrier frequency. Okay, so in the positive side, my carrier frequency is higher than original carrier frequency, but it is first increasing then decreasing. Then in this portion, my carrier frequency is decreasing, then my carrier frequency is again increasing, then my carrier frequency is again decreasing. Okay, so this figure clearly shows me the variation in the carrier frequency. So this is my original carrier frequency, and this sinusoidal curve shows the variation in the carrier frequency. Okay, so the amount by which it is away from this carrier frequency axis, that is known as deviation. And how much is the maximum deviation? This is the maximum deviation. That is the peak of this. This is maximum deviation on the positive side. This is the maximum deviation on the negative side. So in a way, you can say that this figure is showing the deviation in the carrier frequency. Okay, and this FM signal, frequency modulated signal, has been shown here just for your reference, that here your carrier frequency was increasing. So you can see that here the carrier is compact. Here the carrier is not that compact because frequency has decreased. So here carrier has again become compact because of increasing frequency. Now again the carrier frequency has become less compact. So I hope you have been able to understand how actually your carrier frequency is changing with respect to the instantaneous value of the modulating signal. Okay, and the way we understood the concept of amplitude modulation mathematically, in the same way we will understand the concept of your frequency modulated signal mathematically. So this is very simple. After I have explained this, we will start with the frequency of FM wave mathematically. We will define the instantaneous frequency as I showed you in the graph. So this small f is the instantaneous frequency, which is obtained through carrier frequency plus This is the change in the carrier frequency. And what is the change in the carrier frequency? Say the change is delta F. So this change in the carrier frequency, which is delta F, it is proportional to what? Modulating signal. And the instantaneous value of the modulating signal is small vm. So my change in carrier frequency is proportional to the modulating signal. Now what is Vm? Vm is capital Vm sin omega. And what is Kf? Kf is the proportionality constant. Okay, so this Kf is the proportionality constant as you have been able to see here. Fine. So this proportionality constant, like if you remove this proportionality constant, you will get delta F equals to constant, that is Kf, that is your proportionality constant, and small vm is your capital Vm sin omega m. Fine. So this is your instantaneous frequency. And we know that the maximum value of sine wave is +1 -1. So if you put this one value, you get f is equal to fc plus minus kf into Vm, if you take this as 1. And we call this as maximum deviation, or the instantaneous frequency for maximum deviation. Okay, and your maximum deviation is how much? Kf Vm. So this is our maximum deviation of the carrier frequency. Fine. And then what will be the instantaneous amplitude of the FM signal? We already know how do we define a sine signal. Say your instantaneous value of the FM signal will be equal to the amplitude of the FM signal. And what is the amplitude of FM signal? Same as that of the carrier. So that's why it is become Vc. Okay, and then some sine theta. Okay, so VFM Vc sine theta. So this theta, what is this? We can write theta as theta equal to omega t. Okay, we know mathematically theta equal to omega t, or we can say that this theta is now a function of two things. It is a function of carrier frequency. It is a function of modulating frequency. So we have written the instantaneous value of frequency modulated signal as capital Vc into sine of function of omega c omega, which we write as Vc sine. Okay, so with this you can see that we have come to the instantaneous amplitude of the FM signal, which has its frequency, instantaneous frequency defined in terms of carrier frequency and the deviation. So I hope all of you have been able to understand mathematically the concept of frequency modulation. Okay, so for today's class, I stop here. Fine. And we will continue with our mathematical discussion on frequency modulation in the next class. And we'll continue further. Okay, thank you.